world was epic fantasy with really high stakes, really intense scenes. I don't know where I got this from. It was my preconceived idea. I read Guards with a few of my friends, Brandon and Salinger. If you're not following them already, go and follow them. But I gotta be honest, this book just was meh.
That is a problem with reading, especially books like Pratchett, which are very, very highly hyped. Technically, Pratchett is fantasy. Practically, he's not writing epic fantasy at all. If you start with his very first, the Rincewind stuff, the very first stuff, when it first came out, I read it, I loved it. I nearly cried laughing at things like the luggage. I was in my early 20s. It absolutely made me howl. Pratchett is a few years older than me, and his writing style developed. And he doesn't write. It is set in a fantasy world, but it's about people, about humans. It's all about humans. He captures humanity really well. The idea of living in a place where physics is magic and magic is physics, and it's a world that, it's a fantasy world, and it's a brilliant way of doing it, because what he's writing about is people. So if you're expecting high fantasy and all this stuff, you're just not going to get it. Guards it's the beginning of, like, the Ankh-Morpork one. You have to keep going, you really do. My own feeling has always been, if you're going to read Pratchett, you should really start at the beginning, because as a writer, his writing style develops and his world building develops, and the more you get into the world, the more the fact that he's writing about people becomes very, very obvious. Some of them, of course, don't look like people. Some of them really don't look. Some of them aren't people. Some of them turn into wolves, and some of them are gnomes, and some of them are dwarves, but they're all people. They're all about that, and it's hard to get into that, especially if you come in at somewhere like Guards with all these preconceived notions, and it's just like, what's that? If you start at the beginning, you get the idea of what Discworld is. They might not stand up, it does depend on your age, and then you walk your way through it. For example, the first appearance of the witches, Nanny or Granny Weatherwax, it's all right. I mean, it's quite funny. It's not that great. But as it builds and you get the personalities coming into it, which you will find with the characters of Guards, all of a sudden it starts to fall into place, and it's absolutely riveting. And like I said, as he matures as a writer and his world gets built and the characters become more solid, when he pulls in new characters, they also are more fully realised and much more believable. Either stick with it or go back to the beginning and start again, but start at the beginning and be prepared to be slightly overwhelmed, because you've heard a lot, and of course you're reading it for yourself for the first time. But like I said, it's not epic high fantasy. It's books about people, and my God, are they brilliant. Incidentally, if you want to know how to write women properly, read Pratchett.